Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you. Full disclosure, I have already filmed this video once, but my new cute pink mic was not recording, so we're doing it again. Today we're going to be talking about Amberlynn Reid again and her journey to getting weight loss surgery. I think it is very fascinating for me to watch this kind of unfold because I used to be like deep in the Amberverse. I think I stumbled upon it like around 2016, 2017-ish, but I did like the retroactive history and like learned all the lore and like all that kind of stuff. And so like I've been like deep in the Amberverse, or I was deep in the Amberverse for a very long time. And then I kind of just left because it got sad. But now I've just seen like mumblings, and I've made a whole video previously about what I think of her getting weight loss surgery. And so, yeah, as someone who has had weight loss surgery and has been deep in the Amberverse before, I just find this whole thing very fascinating. And so I wanted to make a video about it. So like I said, I made another video regarding Amberlynn's weight loss surgery and about how I think it's the best option for her, absolutely, with like where she's at in her life and where her weight is at, but I just don't think she's as ready as she thinks she is for it. And I have gotten caught up with where she is at in her weight loss surgery journey, and I am confused and concerned. She's very much in what I call the honeymoon phase of the bariatric process. It's something everybody goes through regardless of how you lose weight. I think anybody kind of starting to lose weight goes through the same thing, but it is real when you are in a bariatric program, let me tell you. And so I just want to talk about that today because it's kind of part of the bariatric process that I've never really talked about, is that like honeymoon phase where everything's great and bright and shiny and new, because it is an important phase to talk about, but it's important to talk about it in the context of what life is like after surgery when it kind of wears off, and honestly when it wears off like before you even have surgery, because ideally you're going to be in a program long enough for it to wear off before you have surgery. But we're going to get to all that. For those of you that don't know, I had weight loss surgery about 5 years ago in 2018, which is cuckoo bonkers bananas to think about. But I had a total weight loss of 115 pounds. And I've actually started kind of losing weight again because I am starting to lose weight again. And I am losing 40 pounds of regain that I have gained back over the course of like 2 years or so, which is all good. It's part of the process, but again, it's part of the process that like you need to be prepared for. But I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy back in 2018 when I was 22 years old. I started the bariatric program when I was 21, if I am remembering correctly. My highest weight was about 315 pounds. And yeah, so I had a total weight loss of 115 pounds. Amberlynn has talked very openly on her channel about her struggles with binge eating disorder, food addiction, and like a whole myriad of other mental illnesses, which I'm not saying it that way to be rude. Like, I have a whole myriad of mental illnesses too, I get it. But these things obviously will just add what I assumed to be more work for her to get approved for surgery. But she's also talked about how she took last year and really started to work on herself in therapy and all of that, which, if you know anything about Amber, she has had a very, very, very hard past with her childhood and her parents and everything like that. And I'm really happy that she did take last year to really start working on that, because I think no matter how she chose to go about it, that would be 100% necessary to start unpacking, because she's also talked openly about how her upbringing is one of the main reasons she has chosen food to help deal with it over the course of her life. But it is my very unprofessional opinion. I went to art school don't come for me, but it's my very professional opinion, knowing what I do know about the weight loss surgery process and what life is like afterwards, that it is going to take way more time than a year for her to fully unpack everything and I'm not saying you have to be fully healed before you have weight loss surgery. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think it is really important to determine like a baseline of like where a decent mental state is for you, in order to proceed with getting at least 80% of your stomach cut off. I don't know what surgery she's having. She hasn't talked about that yet. But you have to have like a baseline of like a somewhat okay mental state, and a somewhat okay relationship with food that has been consistent for a few months at least. And it is my, again, very unprofessional opinion that Amberlynn is very much so in the honeymoon phase. And so determining if she is at that baseline right now would be very difficult. So put a pin in that. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. So I went back and I watched all of Amberlynn Reid's videos regarding her weight loss surgery, which her bariatric process, whatever, started in January of this year. And her first bariatric appointment was on January 27th, which I just want to add, January 27th was, because I went back a little bit further. I watched a lot of videos starting at around like the November mark of last year. But so January 27th was like 10 days after her posting a video talking about how she had been triggered by by some candy bars that she was sent by a subscriber, which is shady as fuck to me, by the way. If you like, who does that to somebody who openly talks about it? Had to be a troll, and that's crossing a line. Like, that's awful. Anyways, these candy bars that she was sent from Australia really triggered her, and she binged on the candy bars, and also it sent her on a spiral into binging or into turning back to unhealthy habits like ordering takeout and eating fast food and things like that. She said that her bariatric clinic only asked her to lose 1 pound, which just on its own really confuses the out of me. Like, I'm gonna be real with you on that one. Like, that just, because anybody I've talked to who has had weight loss surgery, and in my own experience, I had to lose 10% of my body weight to prove to my doctors and my surgeon that I was ready to roll. And in my program, if you were losing and then you gained a significant amount of weight, they would actually push your surgery back, so you'd have more time to work on establishing the healthy habits that you would need after surgery and to lose that 10%. So I had to lose like 30 pounds. I wound up losing about 40. But yeah, so that seems odd to me, and that makes me question the validity of the program at all. But that's none of my business. And like, just from watching her vlogs, she does seem to be like cooking a lot more of her own meals, eating more whole and healthy foods, which is all a great step in the right direction. About 2 weeks ago, she started talking about having to learn to sit with the discomfort of like cravings and wanting certain foods, but not actually having them because it's not in line with your goals and all, with her goals and all that kind of stuff, which in my last video, that's one of the main things I talked about, is like, you have to be ready to be extremely uncomfortable when you have weight loss surgery for that reason and many others. And she's started food journaling. She's not counting calories or macros like protein, carbs, or anything like that. She's simply just logging what she ate and what the portions were like. She's finally learning to say no to things, and she's also starting to feel really passionate about saving her life, which is a really great feeling to have. And she also just adds that she also added that she hasn't been using Delta 8 as much anymore, which, if you're not familiar, that's basically like diet weed for states where THC and marijuana aren't legal yet. She also claims that she has the healthiest relationship with food that she's had her whole life right now. She did film a video about like, it seemed like she was having like a panic attack of sorts, about being nervous for just surgery as a whole, just being anxious, which I think is a very valid feeling. I was really nervous, and I did have to go through 6 months of like weight management with a doctor before I had surgery. But she also talks in that video, and put a pin in this too, about how she's excited to like snap, or she's impatient and she wishes she could just snap her fingers and jump forward to being about 3 months after surgery. That's when she feels like she'll be, quote, like in the swing of things with surgery, which I thought was interesting and we'll talk about later. And as of February 12th, she had passed her psych evaluation and is getting recommended by a psychologist to a surgeon to have weight loss surgery. And in that same video, she talked about how she has said no to cravings for 2 weeks and how it's something to be celebrated. And she did something that was like, she equated the amount of hours in 2 weeks to saying, which is 480 hours, to saying that she has said no 480 times. Which, that was an odd metric to like draw in my opinion, but like, okay, little victories should be celebrated and that's great. But again, we're going to talk about this whole sentiment later. And she says that her year of therapy has helped her a lot, which is great. And then on February 18th, she weighed in at 503 pounds, which is about a 17-pound loss from the start of the year at 520 pounds. She says that she's doing a lot of walking in place and walking more to hit a step goal. And she has had an evaluation with a registered dietitian, and she's not sharing what surgery she's wanting or getting, just for the sake of not having people talk her out of it, which, I mean, I respect and understand that. Like, I think there's just some things that you can keep to yourself on the internet until it's time to talk about them. But she does share a checklist of everything she's had to do, and it's very similar to what I had to do in my clinic. And she makes a comment about how it's been a lot so far when she's really only been in this program for like 3 weeks. And I get that like starting this is very overwhelming. Like, absolutely, starting a bariatric program can be very overwhelming with the amount of shit that you have to do and schedule and all that kind of stuff. And that's where we're at as of me filming this on February 19th. The main thing that I am concerned about is that throughout all of these videos, it is so obvious that she is very much in the honeymoon phase that everybody goes through when they start, at least everybody I've talked to goes through when they start a bariatric program to get weight loss surgery. And her program seems to be moving incredibly fast, like so fast, because again, anybody I talk to says that they have had to wait at least like 3 to 4 months to get approved for surgery, whether it be insurance related or not, because a lot of times it is insurance related. So when I'm talking about the 6 months, I had to do 6 months of a documented weight management program with a doctor for insurance to cover my surgery. But they also told me that that they do take advantage of that time to make sure that I am physically and mentally ready to have this weight loss surgery. And so what Amberlynn has done in the past like 3 weeks, I had to do in 6 months. And I tell anybody that 6 months was integral for me being as prepared as I possibly could on the day of my surgery for what was to come after my surgery. Because it is crucial that you use the time before your surgery while you're going through everything to work on forming healthy habits and routines that are just like so ingrained in you that you are still going to be able to do them with the stress of getting at least 80% of your stomach cut off. I don't know what surgery she's having, but at the bare minimum, she's gonna have her stomach shrunk down. Now, back in my super duper like Amberverse consuming days, I was introduced to the cycle of Amberlynn Reid, and I know that this cycle was created to be a troll of some kind and to make fun of her, but it is kind of jarring when you go back to her channel and like see how accurate it is with the way that like her brain just like operates when it comes to starting a new weight loss journey. And yeah, so the phase 1 of that cycle is that she's just like super into whatever she's gonna do. She's like researching, she's like buying shit for it, like she's in like all in. And then like the rest of the phases of the cycle basically cover like her just devolving into pretty much into quitting whatever it is that she started. And I'm bringing this up because I think we are very much in phase 1 of that cycle right now on her channel. And I think, but we are also in the honeymoon phase of starting a bariatric clinic that everyone kind of goes through, at least from the people I've talked to, at the same time. And I think that's kind of a dangerous place to be in. But she was approved in her psych evaluation at the bariatric clinic. So now it's kind of just up to her, like waiting for all of her lab results to get back to the surgeon, and then ultimately meeting with the surgeon and setting goals, which I'm assuming is scheduling the surgery, because that's what my last step was to meet with the surgeon and schedule my surgery. Since she is still in this like honeymoon phase and is still very much like very excited about starting this whole journey, I think this is a very dangerous time to be starting to make plans to have the surgery. Because when I started my program, I thought I'd be ready after a month too, but I certainly was not. There was a lot that I had to unpack, and a lot of habits I had to create, and a lot of everything that I had to do before I truly actually felt ready to have surgery. But the most important thing to remember about this like super exciting new phase of a bariatric program is that wears off, and that you are going to be a weight loss surgery patient for the rest of your life. Whether or not you're going to a program, that's kind of neither here nor there, but you are going to be someone that has had weight loss surgery for the rest of your life. It takes a pretty considerable amount of time to get from like the everything's so exciting phase to the what I call, well, this is just my life now phase, or as most people call it, like the lifestyle change phase of a bariatric program. Because like in the 6 months before my surgery, I'd say I was in like that honeymoon, like excited phase for like probably like 2 or 3 months. But over the course of that time, I was still very much taking the time to teach myself healthy habits, teach myself how to cook, learn about nutrition, form an exercise routine that would be sustainable and effective for after surgery, all of that kind of stuff, while simultaneously getting all of my lab work and everything done that I needed to get done just logistically. And I really had to strip down my view of food to viewing it as fuel, because after surgery, that's all food really is for a very considerable amount of time. And I know that because Amberlynn has an ED, that her prep might look a little bit different. But still, I was really surprised that she passed her psych evaluation, because it was my understanding when I got mine done that they were screening for any EDs or any other kind of underlying thing that could potentially lead to more problems if you were to get weight loss surgery, that could be life-threatening. Because if you eat enough food after weight loss surgery, like if you just don't care, you will hurt yourself, like, and it could be life-threatening. So like that's something that they are looking for in the psych evaluation. So I was honestly really surprised that she passed, and seeing how excited she is, for lack of a better term, about all of this, it makes me worry that like maybe she didn't talk about the things that she should have said or should have talked about, and just said what the person wanted to hear to get approved. And that's just speculation, but just judging by the stuff that she talks about her channel even 10 days prior to her starting a bariatric clinic 3 weeks ago, I just have a really hard time with the fact that she was approved or that she passed her psych evaluation. That's just my opinion. I really believe that Amber needs at least like a few more months to make sure that these new healthy habits that she is forming now stick. Because if there's anything we know about Amber, it's that she starts and stops and starts and stops fad diets, lifestyle changes, etc. over and over and over again. And this is the one time that you cannot do that, because it could be extremely detrimental to your physical health and your mental health after weight loss surgery if you do not stick to what you learned pre-op. And I just think that she needs more time for this bright and shininess to wear off and to actually start working on making these healthy changes, because saying no for 2 weeks is very good and the little victories should be very important, but come post-op and like especially that first year or the first 2 years even, there's gonna be you're gonna have to say no to a bunch of stuff, like at least for that, like I said, that first 2 years, if not for the rest of your life, some things. And so like I just think she needs more time to prepare. Now after surgery, you actually do have quite an even bigger honeymoon phase, and that's because the weight is literally like just falling off of you, and like you can start seeing progress, which is huge because a lot of people like can't see the progress. You can start seeing it, you can start feeling it, your clothes stop fitting, like it's very exciting. And for a lot of people who have weight loss surgery, that's the first time they are seeing that kind of progress in a weight loss journey. And I'm saying that from experience. Like that was the most successful weight loss journey I have ever had, which it should have been because it was my last ditch effort to like save my life basically. But it should be said that this weight is like falling off of you because you are eating some whack ass foods in very small portions of them. And that's where I'm coming from by saying that like you really honestly kind of need to strip back everything you know and just start viewing food as fuel, because for at least 3 to 4 months after surgery, that's all it can be for you, because you are learning what foods will and will not make you sick. And you, for a while, you can't even eat solid foods. Like for me, I went from, okay, so actually, let's bring it back. So it was really jarring to hear Amberlynn talk about how she wishes that she could just snap her fingers and be to the 3-month point after surgery. Because for me, at least with what my doctors told me to do, and every program is a little bit different, what my doctors told me to do, I was just starting to introduce solid foods back into my diet at the 3-month mark. And this was after had been on a 2-week clear liquid diet. So I was literally just consuming sugar-free Gatorade and protein shakes after surgery for 2 weeks. And then I went to the pureed stage, which I was eating just pureed foods for, I think, at least a month and a half. And then they moved me to soft solids, so things like cottage cheese and scrambled eggs and that kind of stuff. And then I would eat maybe like 1 or 2 solid meals like every couple of days. And by meals, I mean I would eat 2 pieces of like cut up grilled chicken and call it a day. And this was all stuff that I was prepared for adequately before I had my surgery in that 6 months. And I have a really hard time believing that Amberlynn is prepared for adequately, or has prepared for adequately in 3 weeks. Anyways, like I was saying, seeing that weight fall off is so exhilarating and it's so exciting, and it builds, again, so much confidence, which is a good thing because it inspires you to keep going. And despite the weird shit that you're eating, it just seems exciting and worth it. But then, probably 9 months out or so is when I experienced my first real plateau. And that hurt. That sucked. I had to just keep doing what I was doing, even though I was seeing no progress for like a month and a half. And like, it was awful. It was really disheartening. And it was really hard to deal with. But again, I had been prepped ahead of time that this was going to happen, and that when it did, I just had to keep doing what I was doing. And granted, I was much smaller than Amberlynn Reid is when I had my surgery. And so her plateau might take a bit longer to get to, or to happen, but it will happen. It always happens. And then fast forward to now, I'm working to lose 40 pounds of regain, because I am now able to eat calories again, and enough calories and then some to gain that 40 pounds. And so that's why it is so crucial that you set up an initial baseline, because now I'm quite literally going back to the things that I did in those 6 months before my surgery to help me lose this 40 pounds again, because those 6 months, the things I learned in those 6 months were so important and so big to me that I now am just like going back into that and starting it again to lose this 40 pounds. And one thing that really stood out to me too is that Amberlynn doesn't appear to be doing a lot of exercise, and I'm not going to be comparing what I did for exercise versus what she's doing for exercise, because we were two very different sizes, very different bodies, very different capabilities. But my doctor told me that you need to start exercising at least 3 times a week, because if you are not exercising that amount, what, like 5 years later or 5 years from now, it's going to be like you had surgery for fun. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's true, besties. And I just really hope that whatever Amberlynn has started to do now sticks, and that as the weight comes off of her, because she's going to start losing weight really, really quickly, that she knows when to start pushing herself even more in the gym. Because not that she has to like she doesn't have to go that hard, but like just more than just like walking and that kind of stuff, because I just worry about that, because exercise is crucial post-op. It is very important. And another thing that I had to come to terms with, and I've only just come to terms with like over the past couple years or so, is that for us, fighting obesity is something we are going to be doing for the rest of our lives. And it does not matter if you had the surgery to help you lose that initial amount of weight. That is just a temporary fix for a long-term problem. And not even a problem, but just a long-term thing that we're going to be dealing with for such a long time. And I really just think Amberlynn is looking at surgery as like this thing that she has to do, and then she's going to be fine for the rest of her life. I don't think because she talks a lot about the work that goes in pre-op, but I have not once heard her talk about the work that goes in post-op, which is arguably so much more. And not only is Amberlynn fighting obesity, she's also dealing with an ED and an addiction and mental health problems. And I just think these are things that need to be addressed and adequately taken care of before she goes under the knife and has at least 80% of her stomach cut off, if not more things done. And I do really think it's still the best option for her, but I just don't think she's ready for it yet. And I think she's letting the cloudiness and the shininess of the honeymoon phase, which is very exciting and very fun, cloud her judgment of how ready she actually is. And I'm just afraid that she might be telling the medical professionals things that they want to hear, because that's genuinely how she's feeling in this moment. But I don't know how ready she actually is for the long-term commitment that is weight loss surgery. I am not saying any of this to deter anybody from having surgery, because like I said, it is easily the best thing I ever did for myself, and I support anybody who chooses to go down this path 100%. But it isn't all rainbows and unicorns, and it never will be. It's awesome and it gives you your life back, but it is a hard fucking process, and you need to be prepared for it. And I'm not saying that to be harsh, but it's just the reality. Like, it's just the truth. And I think the rate at which Amber is moving through her program is alarming, and it makes me nervous for her life post-op. And this might be repetitive for my other video, but I never really touched on the whole like everything's so new, bright and shiny in that one. And so I just wanted to go a bit more into detail with this one. And that's all I really have to say about this. I guess just let me know what you think in the comments. If you've had weight loss surgery, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Yeah, I wish Amber all the best. But I would just like suggest heavily that she really takes her time to get her noodle sorted out before she goes under the knife. And this could all be proven wrong by her posting a video like today or tomorrow saying that her surgeon told her she needs to wait 3 months. But I'm filming this on Sunday, and these are my thoughts on Sunday. So, yep. Anyways, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, drink your water, take your meds, and I will see you in the next one. Okay,